Hi everyone, welcome to this tech talk today on POET, which stands for Process Orchestration for Empowered Teams. It's going to be delivered by Ajay Yadav. Before I hand over to Ajay, I'm just going to go through a quick bio. So Ajay is a STO, so meaning single-threaded owner at TraceLink. He spent the last few years focusing on building Gen 2 POET, which is an app that helps digitizing people processes. He has over 16 years of experience in product development, and he brings in with him a broad spectrum of product market maturity experience and solving business problems. He's passionate about ease of use and extensible products that empower the customer. And like I said, he's going to be speaking to you today about POET, which is a toolbox to digitize people processes. Before, again, I hand over to Ajay, I'm just going to go through our antitrust guidelines. As always, because our courses are public, we just ask you not to engage in any discussions around pricing, deal making, selling, promoting, or any other activities which could be seen as anti-competitive. And if you feel these discussions are approaching these boundaries, just say so, and we will stop the discussion until TraceLink Legal Counsel is consulted before proceeding. And then finally, with our class guidelines, again, because our classes are public and we do have a limited time frame, we just ask you to refrain from initiating any company-specific examples. Having said that, we do welcome questions at the end. The lines are muted, but you will have the opportunity to ask any questions. If you wish to raise questions about any company-specific examples, please do so. It may just mean that we need to take them away with us if we run over time. So I am going to hand over to Ajay now. Thanks, Ajay. I'm very excited to hear about POET.
Yep, thanks, Laura. So good morning and good evening, everyone. So just to set the context of this session, so this session is more about understanding what the poet bringing to the table, what's the problem, business problem it is going to address in the market, and how should any company should look up to using poet for to their advantage to optimize the supply chain efficiency. So let's start and let's first understand what is the problem statement which problem poet is trying to solve. So if we look at it, any organization is built around people. There are people who basically facilitate, operate, or work towards certain business objectives, which is set by the company. Now, in day-to-day life, these people doesn't work in isolations. They work in collaboration, in tangent to each other, basically related to the task that they are doing and the task that they want to delegate further next in the steps of their actions. And for these things to perform, they use certain mediums to interact with each other. And these mediums could be chat, could be sharing some document or sending over a mail or doing a quick phone call just to check, okay, is this delivery arrived? Do you see in the warehouse? Or it could be like did we put a purchase order for this which we have requested last time across department you're trying to do. Now if you look at from all these interactions, these are good in terms of real time actions and all, but think it from a business owner perspective, the leadership of the business, the company. If they want to tangibly quantify where the state of this task is that being done or not? Are they able to visualize their data? And will these people able to provide that kind of a statistics? So what one can do, one can say, okay, let me get one system into the company who can help me manage all those tasks and at the same time gives me a visibility. Great. Now the problem is most like solved. Like there is no chaos. There is a streamlined process. There is a system in place bought in, and people are now using that for all those related collaboration. But since we are not working in an isolation ecosystem, which means a company is also interacting and working with other company. Now, it may happen the other company may using the same product, or it can happen that they may be using some other product, or maybe They are just still using Excels or over the call or a mail, a medium of collaboration. But now the equation, let's expand and zoom out further. In a supply chain, typically there is a lot of partner companies, solutions, network partners involved, which with which you are interacting with. Talking about specifically pharmaceuticals, it could be a wholesaler, it could be a raw material provider, it could be a manufacturer, it could be a retail unit, dispensers, it could be a third-party logistics, it could be a contract packaging organization. Any of these entities you are interacting day in and day out. Now think of these, all these people when they have to collaborate, connect, check a status, coordinate on certain things, how will they actually able to do on a single system efficiently without overhead of doing any kind of interaction or rather integration with those companies? And that is exactly where the Opus app, the Poet, comes into picture. So now let's understand what are the pain that the companies will face. The first and foremost is the communication mode. When you see the communication mode are still not digitized, or they are digitized but not record kept, and every partner you are interacting on our supply chains have a different mode to interact with. At some partner you may want to put something on their system that they want you to use it for, and to others you may just still interacting over mail. So that's an unorganized communication, which you may not able to properly in the future if you want to audit it or look back in terms of what has happened or what that person took decision on, or where we concluded on it. It's hard to track all those because it is varied by your partners or the entities in your supply chain. So that's the first challenge that you get. Second is, even if there are certain products in the market, but those products are more point to point connections only, where from one ERP of one company you build an integration to other ERP. Now think about it. In a business you will have lot many partners or things. If you go around building those point to point integration, one integration takes roughly 6 months to an year to really get implemented and go live. So think about it, how much of the time period is gonna take, and it's not on cheap. It takes a huge maintenance cost of building those integrations, and that is where these challenges now further amplify. If you look it from that perspective, if you want to now at a company, I want to just get a summary. Okay, where does this product looks like, which are the top suppliers where I didn't got any incident reported or counterfeit or a compliance exception. You will not able to get those report if you have specified integration touch points. That's the biggest challenge, because business can optimize something, that is something they can able to visualize. If there is no business metrics or the central that you can build, it's hard to really quantify those action plans. And going forward, what does it really means? That no unified solution across your network, which then reduces your collaboration efficiently, how effectively you coordinate with your partners, or take next steps or record those collaboration summary of those actions. And that is where it leads to more people now going to involve to just facilitate a certain activity to really get to a business closure, which increases your operational cost. Why? Because there is no streamlined process. So it means more people are now engaged into just getting one thing done. And because of that, if you see, the record keeping of all those interactions is now more relied on people rather than a central digitized document where you can rely on. And that's overall results into an inefficient operational activities. So think it from a large scale perspective, and this is where the poets adds value. So poet solves all of them. What it means, it basically provides a streamlined communication mode without needing a need to build a point-to-point integration, which means if you have Poet, your partners or network entities doesn't really need to use Poet or be on Poet. There are multiple integration points which Poet exposes, through which your partner can still participate, updating or interacting with your process without them actually logging into the application as well. And there is no need to for a point-to-point integration as well. And that simplifies a seamless integration with your supply networks, which then helps you to lower down the maintenance. Since there is no point-to-point integrations, there is no maintenance required. There is neither a thing that you need to like quick to market, because you have just got on once, and now all your network entities you can start interacting, collaborating using Poet. And Poet comes with a capability which is easy to customize and build. For example, tomorrow if you get a need that, okay, I want to add clinical trials to track all the stages, I want to create a process on this on Poet. It just takes a week time to just get that build and roll it out to the production. It doesn't take months or years to really make those processes digitize in Poet. It's just a matter of few days only. And that comes with the power of business matrices that you can build on top of those objects, which basically gives executives the visibility to how the day-to-day operations of the company are happening. Where are the areas where we need to have a chance to improve? What are the top products where I need to focus on? Which are the vendors where I'm most of getting these incidents around? And now you can quantify and act, put a plan of action around those. And that is where the collaboration across your supply chain now got centralized and unified. And with that, it increases the people who are involved in all those actions to now work more efficiently, which reduces your operational costs at the end. Now, digital record keeping is a plus bonus point, because now since you have a process digitized and centralized, anything that you are trying to keep a record of, because in a company, if any person who was earlier involved into one of the let's say for example a purchase order or any incident, if tomorrow he is no more with the organization, but still you have that record digitized, captured in the company record, in the application, which you can always look back and see what were the interaction happened, what was the document and attachment provided, what was the concluding remarks around it, and those never gonna get lost. And that helps at the end to streamline people process. So this is the problem which Poet solves out of the box. Now let's understand how exactly Poet solve this problem, right? What is the technology? What are the value propositions Poet have? How exactly it's provide what it's provide? So to understand, it's purely based on the new Gen 2 Opus platform, where using no code and low code capabilities, people to people use cases can be built in just a drag and drop fashions, with customized workflow, with a customized UI to it, with a customized business or process object a user wants to create. It's all drag and drop, and with a small configurations where you need to just check few flags and you're done, ready to go. And that's truly the power of now Opus Gen 2, which Poet leverages and exposes further on downstream. So now let's understand what exactly using those capabilities, the value propositions Poet is providing. First and foremost, any people process that you use today, either within the company or across the company in your network, you can model an object as a layman just by using a UI. You don't need to know, understand technology. You need not to understand the code. You have a simple, plain business terminologies as you can do, and you can build a solution around it and create a workflow transitions around it, like to do in progress. And that's all. It's all drag and drop. And that's way now people can start using that process, transition through it, do an assignment. There are due dates, there are reminders. All these features come out of the box with your objects. That's the first and more number one value propositions which Poet provides. Now, looking at the supply chain network, one thing we need to understand that not every user or the person you are interacting with can onboard to the application. What does it really mean? Most of the time, you need to be a registered user in an application to really interact with an object. But Poet has the added advantage of collaboration via email. What does it mean? It means that any user of your partner company doesn't need to be a user in the Poet application, but still you can send them the notifications, and those email, if the partner user replies, will add back to your object into the application as a comment, which means whatever they are interacting over mail is actually getting captured in the object directly. There is nothing additional you need to do, or someone needs to attach those emails into the object. No, their responses will be captured in the Poet objects directly. So there is no user boundary. Any known Poet user now can also receive and reply to those mails. And that is where the third uh, power of Poet comes, where all the collaborations that are happening across the people in the supply chain are easily can be captured into the system. And those contextual discussions, the attachments later to it, and history of those collaborations, you can always now see, track, and understand what was done, why it was done, what was the conclusion of those assignments. So that's the third part, because the collaboration is the key for the business continuity, and that's the key for in the supply chains to work across different partners, the users within and outside the company both. Moving forward, one of the day-to-day need of any company is a lot of documents that gets generated. You also want to centralize them, not only centralize but better organize them, which means that the document you want to share it, you, if those are intended just within your company, you can do so. If those documents are intended to just with one single partner you want to work with, let's say um, some SOPs you want to share. Okay, in case of incident, these are the things you want them to work along. Or there is a vendor onboarding process. You want to share those templates and work with those specific, let's say, partner who facilitate those things for you. All of those you can share with this just one given partner if you want so. Or at the same time, all the documents that you're attaching, if any revisions happen, you can even maintain a version history of it. What it means, that all the revisions, you can go back and see that particular previous versions as well, what was captured uh, in, let's say, the previous version, what was the detail, what was the change into the new document. All of those you can do it. So that's a really powerful thing, which also comes with Poet, where now you get everything, the people, process, the document, the collaboration, and even non-system users can add, interact with your system and capture responses as in the digital object, is the true powerhouse of Poet. Moving on, many times it happens for one particular thing, you need multiple people to work along on to facilitate something. And for those use cases, there is a list and list work item related um, concept also available in Poet, where all such related tasks and dependable people process, you can all group them together under list. And that helps you to really see, okay, once my this task is done and the other tasks are where are those, by when, who those can are done, who is working on them. You will get a visibility to all those dependable works as well. So list really empowers you to logically group all those related people processes as well. Now coming to the interoperability, one thing we need to understand that TristLink provides a many value propositions which is comes out of different products. For example, Mint provides all the transaction record keeping and sharing and translation of those across the supply chain network without you being worrying about those things. It's provide integrate one's model. And similarly, SOM provides a lot of capability related to serialization and its tracking. And Poet basically helps you to provide a seamless experience. Now, let's say example, there is a delivery received in SOM, and there you notice something is not correct and you want to report an incident. Now, those incidents require people to really connect and discuss the details and talk about it and conclude on it. Now, what does that mean? that whenever that event happens in SOM, there is a compliance exception gonna create automatically in the POET. All you need is just a configuration and you're good to go. So those kind of interoperability among different products within TraceLink, you get out of the box. Moving ahead, one of the key point that is a practical need for any company, that they have lot many different applications also which they are using for certain other activities, and there also the people process are there. Now you want to integrate those applications with Poet, you can do so. How? Okay, there are APIs. Let's say there is an event that happens into your system. Based on that event, you want a process to be started in Poet so that people can start interacting and then they close upon it and capture a digital record of it, why it happened, what was the root cause, and how they are ensuring that it doesn't repeat in future. Those of the details now you want to start. So those are very much possible. You just build an integration with an API and the process will seamlessly work. There is no manual effort gonna involve into it, except people just collaborate over an email or over an app, whatever that convenient to them. At the same time, anything that you want to notify other systems about, or you want to notify other users about, you can also use email for those matters. So using emails, even the objects gets created in Poet. It's just not API. Using email also you can do so. If there is a event that happens into your some other application and that triggers some alerts or emails, those also email alerts can be used to create processy object in Poet. And the last but very important, the dashboard and reporting, because the leadership, the executive, with digitizing people process, one of the advantage they get a visibility basically to all the underlying collaborations, interactions that are happening within the company across different departments. And now they can see, okay, where and what is happening related to product, related to partner, related to the status of all those tasks and how much time does it taking to resolve or act or work on those things, and then accordingly put an action plan to optimize any of those people process. So that is a true power that business can harness using these dashboards built on these digitized people processes. So that's a true value propositions that Poet provides out of the box. Now let's understand how exactly Poet builds and provides it. So it's there are certain basic fundamentals on which you basically extend Poet to your specific needs. What those fundamentals is nothing but the basic patterns you will see. So what when I say about pattern, what it means that the day to day any company or the people they interact, there are certain patterns around it. For example, the people those need a collaboration across different companies, across partners into the supply chains or vendors. Those are of nature where you cross the boundary of your company and now you are interacting with the person in another company, right? And for those kind of nature, work item is the base object which we build our business processes on top of it. Now what work item provides, basically it provides a multi-party collaboration within an outside enterprise. The objects can be modeled on top of it, which can be of nature enterprise only and enterprise as well. You can assign like who is like within the company or outside company, whosoever is supposed to work on it. There is dedicated assigning notification as well that's gonna float out, and there is a due date based business rules also can be built on top of it, such as reminders. Now, work item can serve both the needs, but let's say you don't need due date. There is no assigning thing. You want to digitize something very simple, without any preconceived notion. Then an item is that base, which is just a vanilla base with just one attribute of title. Now, whatever the process you want to build around it, you want to create a task, practice within the company, you can build around it. So item is specifically a plain vanilla object, which is like a empty canvas. you can paint the picture you want to digitize, and it is enterprise only. All the standard notifications like creation, update, closure, those comes out of the box with item. List, we already talked about it. It provides the logical grouping of all other related processes that you may have. You want to bring them under one window where you can track all those related tasks. You can do so using list. And document basically provides you the capability of centralized document management, at the same time versioning of it, and controlling the sharing across your network, to whom and how you want to share it, everything centralized at one place. So these are the base objects that currently are in the 2025 plan with Poet, out of which work item and list are already present. List is going out this month and in production by October, and document is fast follow in Q4. So these are the base capabilities which is now comes as part of the Poet. Uh, if I put now a visual presentation of how you can use Poet as a toolbox to really digitize, this is what it looks like. Using the base objects that are there, you can build any of the processes like complex exception, inspection and audit, task subtask, partner onboarding, quality review, e-logbook, drug recall. All of those processes, people processes, you can now build using these basis object. And that is something we're gonna see in the following slides as well. Plus, there are these standard processes which we have analyzed from the market that are being used in most of the cases. So what TraceLink is also trying to do is to build and provide these digitized processes out of the box as part of the Poet. So with that, you will gonna get these processes soon enough also available into the TraceLink marketplace, available on the Poet app. Now let's look at certain sample solutions, right? So before we move forward, I just want to set a context. What when you look at page, there are certain paradigms of the page. What you see on the right, it is basically a push panel. For example, any row you select, additional details comes out of it. If you have any actions, additional details comes out on this push panel. What you see on the top right, these all are basically the toolbar which holds all the actions which this page has. A user can interact, like he can create new object, he can export the data that he sees, he can filter the data he wants to do. So anything that a user act on the data that is there on the page comes under the toolbar section. And what you see over here is basically the main page content area. This is where your data, your records is gonna come and show. And to the left that you see is nothing but the menu, which is again customizable. And rather, not only this, everything that you see on the page is customizable. You can customize the filters, the content on the right panel. You can customize the actions you want to give to a user, to specific uh, objects that you are modeling. The view of the page, you can customize the left menu items that you have, side menu, what all links you want to have for those objects. Everything is customizable in Gentoo Poet. Looking at it, I just wanted to quickly show what's a work item based object holds. If you see, it's a very minimalistic object with just display identifier, title, due date, and a link back to the list. Rest of it is all metadata. The participants is basically the company who owns the action item, the user who owns the action items around it, assignee user, and comments and attachment. It's the minimalistic base object which basically empower you out of the box certain capabilities to collaborate effectively in your supply chain. Item on the other hand, since it's a plain canvas, it it has just comments and attachment as a standard. No other field you will find it. It's just the title that you see over here. Moving on to list, as the name suggests, it provides you a logical grouping of any of the processes or objects that you will gonna model it. You can link them all inside the list. Now look at few sample process objects that we created on build on top of those base. Now if you see, for example, compliance exception, you will see category of it. You will see source of exception. You will see description. You will see issue tracking number. You will see business priority, the subcategory, and then you will see the delivery and the PO number. You will see the delivery information. These were not part of the base object that we just saw, the work item, right? But here you are seeing why? Because this is the true power of Poet, where you can model, create whatever the object structure you think that is helpful and you needed it, and then you can build a customized UI on top of it. And if you see, this is the workflow which can further be customized to your need based on the nature of the business process we are digitizing. Similarly, change request. Now, if you see impact assessment, location affected, and if you see the general section is totally different what we just saw in the compliance exception. Again, this is the true power of Gen 2 Poet, where you can build any processy object that you imagine. Same with the product compliance. And now this is the dashboard. Now you can build out of those data that you have digitized as a people process. You can see this is a sample. Just to quickly show you, you can check your organizational performance where you can say, okay, how my business units are performing. And you can say, okay, how my partner companies are performing, how many of those objects are there, how many of them are open, how many are closed, how many in progress. I just want to see what is my product wise tracking of it. Let's say across the product, show me the top 10 products against which there is a compliance exception. Now, this is a matrix which will give you a quick view of it. And then you can track it back. Okay, these products from where I am getting on the supply chain, let me contact this particular person or a company and let me take a next action plan how I can make sure that these things doesn't happen more often, right? Since it's a DSCSA compliance, we need all to adhere to. So this business matrix basically gives you a quick view to the leadership so that they can devise and plan of action to optimize and reduce all these things so that it works more efficiently. Now let's understand. We talked about all the capabilities that Poet provides, right? And how it provides. But we need to understand what's in it for a business. Why would anyone would want to have a Poet and or rather wants to have a Poet? So we need to understand what is it's in for a business. So basically, the first thing that a business get is the visibility to the vendor. How exactly are they doing? And they can measure those performance through the matrices and can quantify their performance as well. That helps to really put a very curated plan of action. Second, measure operational health via tracking the progress of all process across department. Since you can track the status of each of the tasks, you getting a direct visibility what each group or each department is doing, how they are doing, how good are they handling these work, and if there is something that you want to pick or there is a problem you see, okay, it's taking too long time to resolve, or there are too many open items, or there are too many tickets in progress and not getting closed sooner. You can definitely get a quick visual presentation of those areas which we need to strengthen basically in the process, right? So that is where it helps. At the same time, any process which is very soggy in times, like it's taking time to resolve, time to close, or the lead time is too high, um, those are very evident from these matrices. Measure overall health of the critical process and identify area to optimize based on them. For example, compliance exception. Why this one product is more getting compliance under the exception? Why this vendor is in the top of the list from where I'm getting these products which are under compliance exception? Or it could be related to, let's say, the vendor onboarding, and that should happen sooner in a week, and it crosses the due date. why it is a lot of these tasks are crossing the due dates. And now those are the critical process. Through these matrices you will able to see them, the health of them, and then you can optimize them. And at the end, what is the key thing that is important to a business is basically improve the overall matrix of the processes that are practiced within the company. Why? Because an optimized supply chain adds back a lot to the business revenue number. Now, what I have shown over here is a snapshot of the data which I gathered from ChatGPT. And look at this. This is from the pharmamanufacturing.com, and ChatGPT has given the source of it as well. And McKinsey estimate that improved supply chain collaboration can yield a 1.5% to 3.5% of improvement in COGS, amounting to significant EBIT gains. Now think about it. Every year, annually, company sets a goal of revenue target in terms of the growing business year on year, which is most of time very ambitious in two digits. And think it from that perspective, how much is really this 1.5 to 3.5% is adding value significantly, right? If a goal is 10% or a 50% year on growth, these numbers very much signifies. And if you look at from the numbers, industry-wide supply chain financials, this particular like pharmaceutical supply chain market is expected to reach 500 billions by 2025. And annual losses due because of inefficiency and other things that are happening globally is huge. And think about it. If the people processes, the other apps of the TraceLink, like the Mint, which manages transaction, the serialization, the tracking, and the Poet, when you put all together under your umbrella, how much does it really gonna save you? A lot, because these are the stats which are evident from the market that you have seen so far. So that is what the business really gets when they use the right tools to empower their business and optimize their operations in the supply chain. So with that, I will take a quick recap of what we talked, what we discussed, and what you have understood. We've understood what is the Poet's business proposition, what are the capabilities and extensibilities that can be done on Poet, and what's the ROI of when someone uses Poet for their business. So with that, this is Ajay. Thanks for your time. Now I will take a pause to take any questions anyone may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. That was really good, really interesting, and really interesting, insightful to see how Poet can really help companies efficient, processes. But I just had a couple of questions. First of all, you spoke about integrations with a company's APIs and emails. That's a possibility. So just a question around that. Who would do this integration and how long does that typically take?
Yeah. So API interaction integrations or email-based integrations someone is trying to build, uh, this can be taken by anyone. For example, um, either TraceLink can help through professional services build those integrations, custom integrations for those companies who don't have a technical team inside in-house who can help them. And if let's say a company has a technical team in-house, we can work along with their teams to really help them to integrate with their side of applications, because the applications they have a better knowledge and understanding of those, and we comes in as a business partner who basically helps them building those things. So the capability of building those API integrations can be performed by anyone. It's just a mutual collaboration that would be needed just to facilitate that activity.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I just wondered as well, so for a TraceLink customer, can they still communicate using Poet with a non-TraceLink partner? And if so, are there any differences that a TraceLink customer would encounter if the partner is a non-TraceLink versus a TraceLink customer that they're communicating with?
Yes. So the answer to the first question, can a non-trace link partner user can interact with the poet? The answer is yes. How? I give you some context to it as well. So basically, when any company bought these products and they onboard to the trace link, one of the thing that TraceLink provides a value addition, where, rather that's a USP of TraceLink, is that we go and set up their network into the TraceLink. What does it mean? That all their partners, we create an entity into our system. So even if user is not using the application or not signing up for to date, they can still interact with through emails, as I explained earlier. So whenever any emails or something the owner is trying to assign to a partner, it automatically triggers and send alerts to those specific users. And now those users can reply back to those email, and those responses will capture in the poet directly. Nothing else would be needed, and they can still collaborate with those users over via mail. Now, what is the difference between a poet user versus a non-poet system user? Basically, they will not get a benefit of the UI and the dashboard, that they can also get a visibility too. So since we are working with partners, once you have your process digitized, you basically can bring this dashboard's visibility to your partner as well, so that there is a trust, there is a transparency, and you will be more effective in narrowing down and working towards resolving certain things if you have. So those are the things that they will miss if they don't use Poet, but it doesn't restrict them from collaborating with the owner. Partner can still collaborate with the owner via email.
Thank you. And so from the owner's perspective, it would be there would be no difference for them on the owner's
Yes,
side. That wouldn't be visible to them whether it's, I mean, they would know, but they wouldn't, the way they're interacting with that TraceLink customer versus a partner, the process would remain the same on the owner's side.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Those are the questions I had. Thank you so much. And if anyone does have any follow-up questions for RJ, please reach out to Tracing University at tracing.com, and I'll direct the questions onto RJ.
Yep,
Thank you so much.
yep. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone.